Browns free agency. Do you like what Cleveland did or what they didn't do? Also, the fantasy football impact from NFL free agency. Big show coming up right now on the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Cut back by Chubb. He's to the 10. He's still running to the 5. He dips outside left. He's going in. Touchdown. What a run. Nick Chubb.
It's going to be sick.
All right, everybody. How we doing, Browns fans? How we feeling? Yeah, we didn't get the big splash. We didn't get the SeaWorld front row Shamu wet splash from free agency that we were hoping for. How do you feel about it? We're going to talk about that today on the show. Make sure you give us a follow on Twitter at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, on Twitter, on Instagram, at AndyMCSports. Click that follow button, notification bell, comment below. Let me know how you liked Browns free agency. Okay, let's go through. And then I put up a poll at SickPodBrowns earlier. We'll get to that in a minute. By the way, guest today, very excited to find out from this gentleman who I met at the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio last August, going back there this year again, Leo McNeely. Master IDP, number one ranker from Fantasy Pros, RPO Football, great mind. What does this mean for fantasy football? All the different moves, not just the Browns, but everywhere. So we'll get into some fantasy football impact there. Little future bets as well from our buddies at Betfred Sportsbook. But let's look at these Browns signings here. Okay, now there's some that are official, and some that are known, but not quite official yet. The big one, day one, was Dalvin Tomlinson. 4 years, $57 million. And that, of course, was after the Browns. And we talked about it for several weeks moving up. Browns, we wanted Daron Payne, but then Commanders tagged him, re-signed. Okay. Nothing you can do there. That's fine. Javon Hargrave. Browns lost out to the 49ers. And I'm convinced the Browns took so much of that Deshaun Watson money and put that up front. Because remember, we were speaking about it on the show where it was the salary cap problems for the Browns this year were an illusion because you just make a big chunk of Deshaun Watson's salary a signing bonus and it's taken care of. And then it freed up, 22 mil of cap space. But the Browns did extra on that. And to me, that says they wanted the big dog. They wanted Javon Hargrave, and they missed. Tremont Jones as well, Ohio State guy, missed. And now you get Dalvin Tomlinson, who was on the 32nd ranked defensive line in the NFL. Not great. Is that Tomlinson's fault? No. The problem is, whenever we look at it and say, oh, that's an upgrade for the Browns from last year. Well, the Browns barely had, like Taven Bryan, you can't really consider him an NFL caliber starting defensive tackle if you fancy yourself a playoff team. Unacceptable. Tommy Togiai? No. Perrion Winfrey, hope we can develop, but no. So now you get Dalvin Tomlinson, who's better, but this guy gets what? 3.5 sacks? Okay, run stopper. At least he's built like a defensive tackle. That's the part I like. It's like 6'3", 320. Okay? That's much better than the tiny, slimmer, smaller guys that the Browns had up front that we saw week after week, people. Beat up, pushed around, ran through. So hopefully Tomlinson can be at least that plug. He is a good run stopper. So it's a good signing. It's not a great, it's good. Third best signing that the Browns could have hoped for behind Hargrave and Jones. But okay. So we're fine with that. Then they re-signed Ethan Pocic at center. Love that because he filled in so well. Re-signed Sione Takitaki, tore the ACL. He won't be back probably till October. So fine for the future. That's good. The one I like, the edge rusher, the other day one, Ogbo Okoronkwo. I think I got it. 3 years, 19 mil. This is the one that's a little, again, I feel Andrew Berry didn't get who he wanted at first. And then you kind of settled. So this guy's 6'1", like 280 something. Like, this is your edge guy? This is your edge? He better be super fast because he's not running through any tackles. He's not running through anybody. He's not getting past any right. So he better be super fast to get around the edge. Because if anyone gets his hand on him, he's not doing anything. Like, again, is it a fine fill-in for Jadeveon Clowney? Like, I guess. Like, he's like 30 pounds lighter than Clowney. Not great. So you still have work to do. The signing I really liked was Juan Thornhill from the Chiefs. Proven winner, two-time Super Bowl champ, ball hawk, bunch of interceptions, And the other thing too, when you watch Thornhill, what were we talking about on the show, folks? What were we talking about that the Browns needed that John Johnson, I don't think did, and Grant Delpit certainly can't do and isn't meant for that role anyway. We needed a safety in Jim Schwartz's defense that can go sideline to sideline quickly. Ball hawk, but also cover. Thornhill does that. Great upgrade. Love this side. That's a better sign to me than Tomlinson. So you have that, but you're still thin. You're still thin on that defensive tackle front. So now it's a question. Well, okay, that was supposed to be taken care of in free agency. And now it's not really, like, it's kind of. So what do you do with that second round pick? Are we thinking trade? We still need that wide receiver who can be a burner over the top. Are we looking to trade? Lots of rumors, Mecole Hardman. Thornhill was trying to get Hardman over, petitioning him on Twitter. Okay, but that's kind of expensive, and you can't be too pricey with that Deshaun Watson contract long-term. Now, some other signings that we got as well coming in. Tackle Tristan Hill, 6'3", 311, second-round pick of the Dallas Cowboys in 2019. Okay? So, again, size, I like. But, yeah, he's been fined in game, has some character issues, was waived by the Cowboys. Maurice Hurst, another one, still not officially confirmed, but looks like he will. This guy is the epitome of injury prone. Super talented, okay? But this is your shot. 1 year, probably it's going to be a veteran league minimum for a year. If he bursts out Maurice Hurst and produces, you look like a genius. If not, not so much. Then we got Taki. Tomlinson, we said. Greedy Williams leaves, signs with the Eagles. Who cares? Taven Bryan left. Okay, not that big of a deal. So overall, I want to know this. Let's put the graphic up, then we'll bring in our guy, Leo McNeely, of the poll that we had. What do you think, Browns fans, of the Browns free agency so far? Now, this poll ended just before Juan Thornhill got signed. But as that number, we saw 45.2% said, meh, great job, 41.9%, and disappointed was these. I'm very surprised at the great job number. Because really, I don't see it. If I'm voting, I go, meh. It's fine. Like, you're better, but it's not great. The Thornhill signing, I would still probably put it the meh level because that defensive tackle spot isn't necessarily addressed. So let me know in the comment section after the Thornhill signing, after the other two sort of fringe tackle signings, where are you? What do you think of the Browns free agency so far? Great, meh, disappointed. I'm in the meh category. So they still have lots of work to do. This isn't still in that receiver. So we'll see. There's still going to be work to be done there. But let me know in the comment section. Hit that notification bell. Okay, folks. Now, that's the Browns free agency. Not really much fantasy football relevance there, but big picture around the league, lots of moving. And I want to bring in my guy, Leo McNeely, on Twitter at MasterIDP, #1 IDP ranker from Fantasy Pros, founder of RPO Football. Leo, come on in, brother. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Andy.
Absolutely, man. Hey, great to have you on. And this is a fun time of year because we're pre-draft, the big names. Now we can still have trades and, guys like Mecole Hardman and other people moving around, whatever. There's lots of movement, as well as the what ifs surrounding that Aaron Rodgers situation. This is what jumped out to me first of, okay, if the Jets do bring in all of the, how does that affect the likes of Garrett Wilson, who was a fantasy stud last year and growing, dynasty too, and Elijah Moore, who was a PPR darling? Like, that's not good for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Yeah, the biggest unknowns right now, until Aaron Rodgers gets fixed up and Lamar Jackson. I mean, two of the biggest names still are kind of a little bit unsettled, but Aaron Rodgers there, I think it should help Garrett Wilson. It should help them get into the playoffs. It'll be a lot of interesting stuff here still to happen.
I just wonder how the ball distribution will be if you add Lazard, Cobb, Mercedes, Luke, like what? Like I wonder.
Yeah, so it's gonna lot to be figured out. Yeah, how they're gonna divvy up the ball.
I'm kind of hoping the Browns trade for Elijah Moore. I think that'd be a nice, cheaper guy, in the slot, get a nice speedy guy. Now some other interesting parts coming around. If we go to Dallas, Ezekiel Elliott released Tony Pollard franchise tag, and we sort of saw this coming, of course, Leo, because if you franchise tag your backup quarterback, he's probably not going to be your backup. Backup running back. Probably not going to be your backup for too much longer. What does this do to the fantasy value of a Tony Pollard?
I mean, especially in the short term, it's going to be a big boost. I mean, not having Zeke, they loved him there. Jerry Jones, wanted to make sure he always got his touches. So without him there, they don't really have a solid second running back there. So I see him. Right now I have him coming into the year RB7, somewhere around that range. I think he's somebody I would be targeting without the competition this year.
And we'll get to some defensive players as well. Obviously, number one IDP ranker for Fantasy Pros, but a few more on offense. Some other signings. I thought Miles Sanders to the Panthers, 4 years, $25 million was interesting because obviously you lose Christian McCaffrey. They're going to be getting in whichever quarterback it is. I think it should be CJ Stroud. Who knows? So you need that guy. I like this fantasy-wise for Miles Sanders because I guess depending on which quarterback you take, who could be mobile, if it's a CJ Stroud, he's mobile, but not like he's not going to be running all the time like a Jalen Hurts. So I like that Miles Sanders fit in Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, there's definitely some pros and cons to it. They signed him good, good money. They're gonna give him the ball. The only downside really is that if Carolina doesn't score a lot of points, it's going to limit how many touchdowns he can get. But I think they're going to feed him. They're going to, he's going to be scoring. It's just how much can he score with a rookie quarterback there.
And that's the big question coming out, right? What does that look like? And does it possibly benefit him, at least in the touch category? Because if you have an experienced back with a rookie quarterback, every rookie QB needs their safety blanket. If Miles Sanders becomes that short little toss outlet guy, that's not bad.
They don't have any other receivers, so.
Yeah, that's right. They got rid of DJ Moore.
They don't have anybody.
Wait, that's a guy. Who's this rookie throwing the ball to? Like, what's happening?
Great question. We don't know.
That's kind of concerning. Interesting. Denver Broncos, rumors that Jerry Jeudy might get traded. I'm just running through the list. Nothing too exciting there. Oh, okay. Detroit. This is why Detroit Lions getting David Montgomery. I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, I'm confused too. I mean, do they just not like DeAndre Swift that much? I'm not sure. Like, I don't know who the lead back's going to be right now there.
Right?
I'm a little confused too. Right now, I think I'm putting them pretty even, that there's going to be a distribution. One guy's going to get more catches. One guy's going to get more rushes near the goal line. They're going to, eat into each other's production. And, that's a little concerning.
So what does this do then? Because for every action, there's a reaction in football, right? So that means David Montgomery gone. Khalil Herbert, who was a handcuff gem. And when Montgomery was down, we saw in limited action, did produce pretty well for fantasy owners. I would bet that, maybe they draft the guy, try to make it a bit committee. Are you getting bell cow vibes out of Herbert? Because we know how rare that is in today's NFL.
Well, yeah. I mean, you asked me that question, 48 hours ago, and maybe I'd say yes, but then they went and signed Dante Foreman. So, he might get some of that early down work, and a short window to potentially sell Herbert, but I liked what I've seen out of Herbert, but I don't know that they're going to commit to him in Chicago, that you'll want to be able to use him all the time.
And you got the mobile quarterback in Justin Fields too, right?
Yeah.
So
again, we kind of, cuts into production of those running backs too, just like we saw with Jalen Hurts cutting into some of those rushing touchdowns. That's
it. New Orleans, of course, Derek Carr, all that fun stuff. That's great. Good for him. Daniel Jones. I was baffled at first, and then I think it made sense, Leo, for this contract that they gave. And I think it makes sense because, you wanted to franchise take Saquon. I think it's a smart move because he did have a great year, but the 2 other years before, that's super injury prone. But for Daniel Jones, if the Giants, the question has to be, if you don't go with Daniel Jones and you don't have a high enough draft pick to get a top quarterback, where do you get your QB? So I think it was kind of like a devil type of situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's only so many options out there, and quarterbacks are going for pretty high numbers. So they decided to stick with what they knew. They liked what they saw out of him. He finally did, I think, make some steps, forward this past year. And especially for fantasy, he, did pretty well for people, especially, he added some rushing yards and all that.
Yeah.
So, I think they just saw enough progression that they wanted to give him a few more years.
And they're going to do it. And credit to Brian Daboll for bringing him along, even as limited as it might have been. The big ad and fantasy impact for Darren Waller. Because when healthy, what, Leo? We're looking 3, right? Really? Well, and Kittle's health. So behind Travis Kelce, Darren Waller's a top 3 guy. But in New York, is he still, when healthy, that bunch? I think the answer to me might be yes, based on the wide receiver crew, which they added Paris Campbell. Okay, Darius Slayton re-signed. Like, these are not game record types. So this could be huge for Darren Waller owners.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of reserved as far as how far I want to move him up. Even though that, there is some target issues there. He is getting, I think he's 30 now. He's getting, a little bit old on the older side.
Right.
I don't know that I can move him past TJ Hawkinson and Kittle and, even Goddard, I think might still be above him.
Right.
But yeah, he's right. He's right in that range, 5 to 8 range of tight ends. I mean, he could do something. We don't know. And a lot of times with a new team, you never know for sure how it's going to work out.
Cough, Kenny Golladay.
Yeah. That's what happens.
Bust of the century. Oh my gosh. All right, let's get to defense. Number 1 ranked IDP. So defense for IDP, it is something that has been gaining popularity in the fantasy world over the last few years. Now, from those who might be new to it or strategy-wise, if you're looking, are you looking at sort of that middle linebacker guy who racks up lots of tackles? Do you go for intercept? Like, where do you kind of start from your defensive fantasy strategy?
I think the default in most leagues is to target guys that get tackles. So you're looking at those middle linebackers, which, the number of middle linebackers these days are, getting more and more rare. You're seeing a lot of off and playing weak side and that kind of stuff. So getting those guys that'll be on the field, 100% of the snaps makes a big difference. I mean, you saw the Browns; they didn't really commit to 100%, linebacker very often this past year.
Amen.
So,
should have.
Well, if Anthony Walker didn't go down, it might have been a different story. I think he really anchored that defense as far as helping JOK. Kind of just the fit between those two, made a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. So exactly. So you get those guys who tackle the running backs, get those cross routes over the middle. So if we're looking at with the free agent movement, who are some risers and fallers for you in the IDP world?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the first guys, is Cole Holcomb he went to the Steelers. I think that will be a great fit for him. They really revamped that whole linebacker room there. They took out Spillane, they took out Devin Bush, they took out Miles Jack. They're all gone. So they brought in Cole Holcomb. They brought in Landon Roberts. I think Cole Holcomb's going to have a pretty good year. Another guy, Eric Kendricks, he went from Minnesota over to the Chargers. I think he's going to be in a good spot there to rack up a bunch of tackles if you're looking for those points there. Those are a couple of guys I'm looking at.
So when we get past the front 7, really. Now, the value, of course, of the secondary is now you're looking kind of, and I guess to some degree, the edge rushers, the big numbers with sacks. When it comes to corners and safeties, you're looking for those ball hawks, those interception guys, right? Because it's kind of that balance, I guess, because if you're targeted a lot and getting a lot of tackles on as a cornerback or safe, you're probably not that good because people are going after you. So, like, for the Browns getting Juan Thornhill, I really like that in this Jim Schwartz type of offense, for example, as far as someone that might be able to make an impact there fantasy-wise. Yeah,
I mean, so strategy with defensive backs, I mean, so I usually target those linebackers first, then I go after the defensive ends that can get the sacks, and then defensive backs are kind of neglected, I think, a lot. And just the scoring a lot of times just isn't in their favor. But I'm actually still looking for guys that are going to get the tackles. I want those sure points every week. I mean, it is nice to get guys that'll get interceptions, big plays, but those are so hard to predict. So I'm looking for the consistent tackle guys. Like last year we saw, Julian Love and Jalen Petrie, we saw Derwin James. I mean, Derwin James is going to be DB1, every year for the last couple of years here. So that's really what I'm looking for. It's hard to tell what Thornhill, what kind of role they're going to put him there. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to play out. But I'm not a big Thornhill guy, but some people like him.
I gotta like him now.
Yeah, we're all in on that.
He's better than what we had in any case. So okay,
Yeah,
so that's the strategy wise. Yeah, makes sense because you can get those home run play. It's kind of like if we look at it from we mentioned McCole Hardman earlier in the show, or those sort of home run type of receivers that guy could get you a 90-yard touchdown on 2 catches and you have a day, but then he could do nothing for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Same type of idea, right?
Yep, exactly. So, there was a move today. Julian Love, he went from the Giants to Seattle. Be interesting to see now. In Seattle, Jamal Adams hopefully will be coming back, and then they've got Quandre Diggs. So they may be looking at 3 safety sets there. It'd be interesting to see how they use Julian Love. He was a top 2, I think, DB this past year.
Interesting. Bring him in. And I want to see, too, for the Browns, how they use Grant Delpit, because Grant Delpit we've seen, and it's been inconsistent, but we've seen him be brought down sometimes and kind of as that let loose safety to go after the quarterback once in a while, kind of that gunner type. So if that works, that could be a bit of someone to watch a little later in your fantasy drafts, because maybe those big plays are going to be possibly more often, or you at least increase the tackles if they have him kind of as a runner. Yeah,
I mean, I'd rather have Grant Delpit on my team than Juan Thornhill. I just think Thornhill, a lot of times with DBs, like a guy that's going to play a little bit deeper isn't going to make as many points. There's not as many tackle opportunities for him. So I'd be targeting Grant Delpit. Obviously, if the stays in favor with the new defensive coordinator, that would be
and that's something. And that's something to track as well. People on new moves, how do they mesh? Right? Yeah. How do these rookies, and we still have the draft to come in, of course, to see how that balances everything out. I got to say, at Master IDP on Twitter, loved it, because there is no love for OBJ on this program. I'll tell you that. I loved your tweet. You said, so Odell, folks, okay? And I don't even know how to properly pronounce it because I'm not a wine guy, but I'll try. He said, Odell Beckham Jr. tweeted, they want to try to Mouton, but pay box wine price for it. So I guess Mouton's a fancy wine, I think, right, Leo?
Yeah, I just quickly Googled it. It looked like a French wine, so I assume it's a very expensive French wine. So
a very expensive one. And you wrote, do you think OBJ has aged like a fine French wine, or is he now in the box wine category? Perhaps even MD 2020. Love it. Look at for OBJ. Like, this guy's asking 20 mil. Like, boy, the self-confidence, like, we should all be so lucky to have self. This guy, you look at his ACL too much, it's going to be popped off. We know he's a me guy. We know his dad's great at video editing because you snookered the Browns whole season screwing over Baker Mayfield. So we know daddy's watching and getting ready to if it doesn't go well. Like, I don't see, if I'm looking at the headaches and drama that come with Odell Beckham Jr., along with the age, along with all the injuries, why wouldn't I just go try to either trade for a guy or draft a guy way cheaper that I can mold and hopefully doesn't have the headaches on and off the field?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's probably just banking on the fact that it wasn't a very strong, free agent wide receiver class. I mean, we had Jacoby Myers and Juju Smith-Schuster, and not a whole lot. I mean, now Adam Thielen's out there, but maybe he's just banking on the fact that he thinks people are going to pay him prices for when he was a rookie or whatever, but he doesn't still have that speed that he had when the first couple of years.
No, this guy hasn't really been a consistent fantasy star since 2016. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
Or NFL relevant, real life or fantasy wise, because of the injuries, because of the inconsistencies. And I'm sorry, that one-handed catch, I see that every week now. Not impressed. Mm-hmm. Thanksgiving, so what? I see that every week.
Yeah, there's been a lot of guys that have repeated it. Recently.
It's done. The guy's a one-trick pony, and whatever. I'm definitely, my answer to your question: box wine, and there's a hole in the bottom. Okay, it's leaking. It's a leaking wine. Leo, tell people where they can find you, your rankings, because this is getting into crunch time. Like we said, this is where your fantasy team, you want to start preparing before the draft, and then circle back after the draft to see how things are hitting up for your team.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Master IDP, but then I created a website in December. It's rpofootball.com. It's going to have, all your rankings that you need, offense, defense, dynasty, really get you everything you really need for the season. We're slowly building it out. It's kind of a work in process, but you'll just see layer after layer of great content over time here.
I love it. Are you going to the Fantasy Expo in August?
I am. I'll be there.
I'll see you there.
You're going to be there?
I'm going. I'm coming.
All right.
Boom.
I'll have to meet up with you there.
Absolutely. We'll see if we'll see if we can get a fantasy football game there. See if we can pull an ACL like Odell.
Yeah, we don't need any more injuries, that's for sure.
No. All right, brother. Thank you so much for coming by. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me, Andy. Have a good day.
Thank you. There he is, Leo McNeely on Twitter at Master IDP. You heard the ranking spot. That's what's so valuable, right? You got your sort of one-stop shop right there. Great insight from Leo. And man, and the free agent stuff with the trades. This is where I really feel the Browns and Andrew Berry are going to have to do something the trade route. Now, remember, this time last year, a little bit later now, but Amari Cooper had for a 5th-round draft pick because of salary. So what are the Browns able to do with what limited resources they have in draft capital? Remember, obviously don't have a 1st-round or 3rd-round pick this year. Don't have a 1st-round next year. So what are you able to trade? The rumor Jerry Jeudy for a 1st-round pick. Well, first of all, that's way too high. Second of all, I don't understand why Sean Payton coming in, you want to take away a key weapon to Russell Wilson. Why? That doesn't make sense. Now, I know he's got one more year left on his contract. Then it would be go free agency so you could draft the guy. Okay, I suppose. But a 1st-round pick for Jerry Jeudy, like, I dig him. I think he's good, but I'm not giving up a 1st-rounder. If I'm the Browns, do I want to trade or get a rookie? Who would I trade? Like, Mecole Hardman meets the need of what we've been talking about on the show. We don't need a number 1. I got that in Amari Cooper and a 1B in DPJ as he grows. I also have David Njoku at tight end. Then, whatever you think of David Bell, I still think he can be a reliable sort of, not pull away speed, but out of the slot possession receiver. So you got that part covered. Still Nick Chubb, now Jerome Ford combo in the backfield, which is still super strong. And so now Anthony Schwartz is done. Can't catch. I need a speed guy who can catch. Mecole Hardman can do that. Question is, what's it going to cost? If it's too high, I'd rather draft the guy at 2. We went over a bunch of lists. If you missed it last week's show, I gave you 5-6 names of guys you can get by the Browns either in the 2nd round or probably 4th or 5th. Because again, we don't need a complete receiver. You can't run route trees. Oh, okay. Can you run straight fast? Look over your shoulder and catch the ball nicely? Yes. Okay, I'll take you. Thank you. I don't need these in-depth guys. That's why these receivers who are higher ranked, who better overall, who can grow into a number 1. If you're not super fast, if you're not a burner, I got DPJ who's quick but not a burner. He's a fast guy who can catch. And then the question again becomes, can you trade for a defensive tackle? Are we really going into this season? Because let's face it, if you take a receiver in the 2nd round and you don't do any trading up, your next pick will be I think it's the end of the 3rd with the compensatory. Well, you're getting at best a rotational defensive tackle. At best. And you have to hope a Perion Winfrey from last year can grow. Now, Perion Winfrey develops nicely. Boy, we're in good shape. And you have a lot of ifs. But you know what I say about the ifs, right? Like with Bryce Young. If there's too many ifs, it's not happening. So I think we're going to have a trade in the works. There's got to be something there. Because this seat for Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski gets turned up with each step and each day in the NFL calendar. Okay, NFL free agency, middle of meh. Like I said, I don't know who's like super stoked about the signings, but 41% of you were. So good on you. But okay, so let's give that at bet like a B-. Let's be B-. It was fine. So now the next step is the draft. It gets dialed up again. Do they want to be trading down for picks for future draft picks that they might not be here to draft for? I wouldn't think so. Do you try to package those for now, guys? I'd be fine with that. But who's the guy? Amari Cooper wasn't on anyone's radar. Could be a surprise. Still a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. Also, I want to know, where are you guys at with the future picks as far as the divisions for our buddies at Betfred Sportsbook? You jump in Ohio. Come on now. Okay, Betfred Sport. The link is right there. It's right there in the description. Click it. You get those signing bonuses, big signing bonuses. You can bet those future NFL bets. Super Bowl MVP, comeback player of the year, division winners, whatever. Other sports other than football. March Madness? Get on over to March Madness. Yeah. Click the link there. Also, shout out to Carl's Inn of the Barristers closing this weekend. I think actually today might be the last day for it. It's today or tomorrow for Carl's. My dad and I go down there every year since 2007. Every year, the best damn Reuben sandwich you ever have in your life. I don't care what place you stay. It's not as good as Carl's. And it's closing down. And just I've never thought I'd be so sad about a bar or sandwich shop, but it was a safe spot. It was a spot we went every single year, met with Carl, and he's just an absolute gem of a human. His sons as well run it. You can't find a better guy, and you damn well can't find a better sandwich. So if you're in the Cleveland area this weekend, today, St. Patrick's Day, Saturday, go in, have a sandwich, have a beer, tell him Andy sent you, and enjoy it, because it's just super sad that Carl's is closing down. So, Carl, all the best, man. You've been an absolute friend and a safe spot, and just a joy to have us come down all the time, and we love it. So going to miss Carl's place down there on the Barristers. So right downtown Cleveland, check it out if you can. Otherwise, I want to know what you think of Browns free agency. I want to know what future NFL bets you're making, or March Madness bets that you're making. Okay, you like me, you don't know what the heck's going on, you're just picking teams, you can do that at Betfred Sportsbook. So leave those comments below. Click notification. Follow us on Twitter at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, Instagram at AndyMCSports, and we will see you later on the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.